This is the Crazy Over 40s Live podcast, where every Thursday you will have a pirouette of rotating co-hosts, including myself, Caroline Brown, that will delve into topics relating to the over 40s. For aware of this notion that you're going through a midlife crisis, we're going for a crazy over 40s life. It's the time to uncover and rebirth our adolescent years filled with curiosity and all our desires. We do it right here on the Crazy Over 40s Live podcast. We look into relationships, emotional, sexual, financial wellness, entrepreneurships, providing you with an enjoyable delivery every Thursday. And don't forget to share and subscribe so you can keep updated on all the episodes as and when they become available. I hope you enjoy this episode. Shining bright like a diamond indeed. Well, Irina Karina is going to show exactly what diamonds we can give to ourselves and gemstones. She's the founder of Serena Gems. She founded this during the pandemic after working 12 years in the male-dominated industry. She decided to branch out on her own, and she helps clients all over the world to create jewelry of their dreams through private, one-to-one, custom, or even ready-made jewelry services. She wants to inspire clients just like my audience to give themselves the perfect gift. Don't wait for anyone else to do that. She's here to tell us how we can get started, and she shall be joining us after the interlude. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and I'm your host, Caroline Brown. Right, listeners, as I promised you, I have Irina Karina here from Serena Gems. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm a fellow Londoner, but you're not in London, are you?
No, I grew up in England, and then I ended up going to university there, and then going back to London for a few years, kind of while living in Toronto. But I'm mainly based in Canada right now.
Right, lovely. But you actually serve your customers worldwide, which we'll get into just a little bit. So it actually leads me on very nicely. Can you tell my audience a little bit more about you?
Yes, so my name is Irina, and I'm the founder of Serena Gems. And right now, I have my own business where I run a custom jewelry company where I help people from all over the world create custom pieces of jewelry of their dreams. A lot of the time from the comfort of their own home. And yeah, I love working with women, especially who want to treat themselves to jewelry as a gift without, waiting to receive it as a gift from somebody else, and really just invest in themselves and make themselves, feel good about buying something for themselves and not feeling guilty.
You have a lovely backstory, and I would love to get into it just a little bit because your company that you founded is pretty new, but you've been in the business for a long time in such a male-dominated industry. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's right. So I actually finished a University of Birmingham, and I, got a degree in business and Spanish, and sort of had nothing to do with the jewelry industry. And then I ended up moving to Canada, to Toronto, and my first job there was actually working at a Canadian diamond wholesale. So I completely fell into it by chance and ended up, spending 12 years there in different capacities, in different areas of the business. So in diamond wholesale, gemstone wholesale, appraisal, all that kind of gemstone related industry. But then I soon realized that a lot of it is actually based on engagement rings and anniversary gifts. And what I really wanted to do was to celebrate independent and self-sufficient women and empower them to invest in themselves and their own jewelry without, again, as I said, receiving it as a gift. So in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, I decided to quit my job and start my own business. And yeah, now again, I love working with women. I still make some engagement rings, but that's I get to kind of decide who I work with and who I attract to myself as well.
What a brave move, but very inspiring move as well. 'Cause I can't imagine, during the pandemic that it could have been an easy move for you, but you did it because obviously you were inspired to make some changes in the way that you work.
Yeah, and actually it was interesting because I think a lot of people, even my employer at the time was really surprised that I decided to make this move. But I actually thought that, what, this things are changing, right? People are spending more time at home, but they're still, spending their money somewhere, and they maybe looking after themselves a little bit more. They're really focusing on themselves. And that's actually when, people, I think, started to really look at themselves and what they wanted and what their focus would be. And then, it kind of went inwards, right? They realized that they want to really find out who they are and still invest in themselves. They not able to go on holidays. They still had that income that they could spend on something else, and they ended up spending it on themselves.
Because women today are more financially independent than ever before. And you mentioned something really interesting, that the jewelry that you were making were jewelry that are normally gifted to women, isn't it? During like the like anniversaries, or like making the commitment. And but what do you notice very different to the women who really want to buy for themselves? What do you notice that the difference in the jewelry, the style?
Yeah, so I think we all went through a stage, in maybe at school or in our 20s, where we, wanted to be like everybody else, and everybody wanted to have that same piece of jewelry, right? Maybe it was like a bracelet from Tiffany's. I remember just everybody wanting one. And as we get older, we realize that we want to actually be different, and we want to celebrate our own uniqueness. And a lot of the times when we go to stores, we can't find that. We can't find something that aligns with ourselves, especially when it comes to jewelry. And I actually had a client who mentioned this to me once, that, her husband's been buying her jewelry for years, but every time he gives her something, she feels like it's just out of alignment with her. And, it's not about being ungrateful, right? It's not about being ungrateful or not
I wouldn't be ungrateful for a diamond.
appreciating. Exactly. But sometimes, what, maybe she didn't want a diamond, right? Maybe she wanted like a sapphire or an emerald. So it's
Right.
it's really, really personal, and jewelry is such a personal thing. And for us as
Yes.
women, I think it's sometimes difficult to say no, right? And kind of, we don't want to be ungrateful. We want to be very appreciative, and we end up wearing this jewelry, which might be beautiful, but it just doesn't speak to you. And I always thought that was very interesting. And I think when we reach a certain age, we kind of are more comfortable with saying no and really just voicing our own opinions and what it is that we want. And what this particular woman wanted, a colored gemstone. So she actually ended up buying two of my ready-to-wear pieces for herself, and enjoys wearing them, and knows that she got them for herself. And she recently went through a career change, and she mentioned that her kids are grown up now, and she really just wants to focus on herself, right? It's again not about being selfish in any way, but sometimes we have to be selfish in a way that we have to invest in ourselves and really prioritize ourselves without feeling guilty. And that's sort of the pattern that I'm seeing with especially sort of older women that I'm working with.
What are well, interesting. There's two parts to this question. One of them is the age group, the over 40s. What are the trends you see in the over 40s in terms of the kind of the style of jewelry, what they're wanting, and what can something cost you, minimum?
Yeah, so I feel like there's kind of obviously so many different women, but there seems to be a type that just prefers that kind of classic, traditional, clean look, and usually ends up going for diamonds. So maybe diamond studs, or diamond a solitaire pendant, or maybe like a tennis bracelet. That's something that's going to go with everything, even if you wear a suit to go to work, or a cocktail dress, or even jeans and a t-shirt. Diamonds will always kind of go with everything that you're wearing. And there's another type of woman who wants big kind of gemstones, maybe like a cocktail ring, that some people will only wear to parties, but there's other women who just are comfortable wearing them on a day-to-day basis. So maybe if you want to focus on a certain color that you like, so for example you like pinks and purples, you might want to go for like a pink or purple sapphire. Or if you like, green, you would go for emeralds. And it really depends on whether you're looking for, a certain color that you're looking for. Maybe you want to focus on like a birthstone. So for example, I was born in February, so my birthstone is an amethyst. So sometimes I wear an amethyst just as like a little talisman,
Okay. Right.
Yeah. So it really depends.
No, go on. Sorry, you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, no, it just really depends on your personality. But it's just, I think the general kind of similarity, what I'm seeing is that just women are more open to trying different things, and maybe that, they never used to wear jewelry. Now they're trying something. And some people who've been wearing jewelry all their life, they just want to maybe elevate it a little bit more. And yeah, and in terms of price, it can really range from anything. Like a lot of my custom work starts from about 10,000 Canadian dollars. But I also have a ready-to-wear line where you can purchase like a ready-made piece, and that starts with about $1,000 Canadian. So it really depends on what you're working with. And the great thing about custom is that we can really make whatever it is that you're looking for that you're not going to find at a jewelry store.
Okay. And do you think jewelry is something that keeps its financial value?
It depends. Yeah, it depends what it is. I think a lot of the times people confuse kind of like the value and a resale value, right? So
Yes.
sometimes people, they'll want to maybe resell the jewelry. Maybe, they go through a divorce, they want to resell their engagement ring. And actually, a lot of the times, if, they are able to sell it maybe to another private client, another private person, then you might have a better deal, but you unfortunately won't get your money back. So a lot of the times, if you are trying to get rid of jewelry, I try to advise to either maybe remodel it and make it into something else. So if it was an engagement ring, maybe you want to make it into a necklace, or, just keep it in the family, or, gift it to a friend, or perhaps, make some sort of arrangement. But it's only really the big kind of, maybe diamonds over a certain carat size or something really rare that's going to sell at an auction that will fetch a lot of money back, but it's not the kind of thing that you would really resell and get your money back. So I always just suggest keeping it and maybe just remodeling it.
Yeah, so it's more of a like an emotional investment, isn't it? As you said, you pass it down to whoever may inherit, because the emotions attached, or the time and the place when you thought it's a good idea to purchase the jewelry. I want to ask, you talked about selling on jewelry, and I know there are women who do sell on jewelry, as the reasons as you described. Now, you can get diamonds, say, in the shop for 1,000, and it goes, up a lot more. Tell me the reasons behind that. Is there the reason because of the clarity in the diamond or the gemstone?
So a lot of it's actually to do more with the piece itself. So the amount of time that a jeweler puts into the design and the work, right? So it's not always just the value of the gemstones and of the material. So it's not like you take, the price of the gemstone, then add the metal and maybe the side stones, and that's your price, right? It depends on the design. So the labor that goes into it from a jeweler's, personal kind of point, it's a lot of it's to do with that. And a lot of the times where you're trying to resell a piece of jewelry, unfortunately the other person realizes that you're trying to get rid of it, essentially, right? So they know that maybe they'll be able to make money on it, but you are trying to sell it, makes no difference to them for how much they're going to sell it, right? So they're really going to lowball you and really try to do that. And that's just the unfortunate side of the business and the jewelry business. But I think it's to do with a lot of things, right? Like as soon as you drive your car off the lot, it decreases in value significantly. And I think, as you said, we look at jewelry as a very personal and emotionally filled kind of product, but at the same time it is also a luxury product. So the people who are investing in it, a lot of the times I try to invest in it, not for resale value, but for personal, emotional value.
I can't think of anything more personal than someone custom making your jewelry. I mean, that speaks a lot of investment in the first place, that you've obviously gone to a lot of length to do that. I know you work not only from where you are, I mean, you do serve a lot of customers all over the world. How does that work?
Yeah, so actually, thanks to modern technology, it's very useful to I'll a lot of the times when we, for example, sourcing the gemstones first, I will take pictures and videos, and I'm able to either send them as text messages, on WhatsApp. I can also create like little Google albums for people to send links to, so that they can choose from designs. So a lot of it's to do with emails and just sending each other videos and pictures of what we do want, what we don't want, and then people are also able to go on Instagram, on Pinterest, and look for designs, and save those photos and then send them to me for inspiration. So it's actually very interesting how we're able to do that. Where even maybe 20 years ago it was much more difficult to do that. But I recently created actually an engagement ring for a gentleman in London. I was here in Toronto, and it was all just basically sending each other's pictures, while we're creating a custom design. It's a computer generated design, so I was able to send him those sketches to approve. And once he was happy with them, then we could really just get it done. And then I took it over there for him. Or again, we can ship it with FedEx. It's all insured. So it just really depends on what the person's looking for. If it's something that's ready made, it's easier that I can just ship it with insurance and get it pretty much anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world. Well, the last question I really want to ask you is that how can people get hold of you? I mean, where do you start? How do you start to get hold of you, Irina?
So they can either find me on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, so they can send me a message there. You can also go onto my website, serenagems.com, and find out a bit more about me, about my process. There's a lot of juicy information there on my website, and there's connect buttons and all that. So you can do that either on my website, Instagram, or LinkedIn as well.
And the one thing before I forget, that all your diamonds and gemstones are ethically sourced, isn't it? It's ethically sourced.
Yes, so I work with different jewelers and different wholesalers here in Toronto, and I make sure that everything is ethically sourced. And I work with the companies that are, reputable. A lot of them are actually family-run businesses, so everybody really knows what's going on. A lot of them work in with other ethically sourced gemstones and also materials, and other families. So then you really know what's going on throughout the process. When it comes to diamonds, it's a little bit different, because it's usually it comes from bigger mines, but they really in the last few years have done a lot of work to ensure that everything is ethically sourced and goes through a certain process where you can actually track the diamonds. With gemstones, colored gemstones, a little bit different, because they're usually smaller mines. But because they're family-run businesses, a lot of my suppliers actually know the people who own these little mines and really support them. So, when working together, we really try to, support local businesses here in Canada, but also abroad.
Well, I'd love to support you. You've done amazing work. I mean, to get into this industry and also to create a value-based industry yourself. Amazing work, Irina. Any last parting words for my audience?
No, I think that's it. But thank you so much for, having me and helping me spread my message, and just really encourage women to invest in themselves. It doesn't always have to be jewelry. It can be anything. It's the holidays we're going on. If you want to invest, in a coach, or just in what you wear in general, I think just try to spend a bit more time and money on yourself, whatever it is that you want to, the area you want to be in.
Right. Well, I don't need any convincing of that. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Crazy Over 40s Live podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
You're welcome. Thank you, Irina, for coming on. Right, in this episode, we shall be joined by Zachary Winner, who is the founder of Cornerstone Investments. The investment opportunities include hotels, commercial real estate development, industrial office parks, and much, much more. You want to know how to become financially independent and have your money work for you? Well, Zach is here to share his inspiring thoughts and knowledge with you. So stay tuned to that on the 22nd of December on the Crazy Over 45 podcast. And don't forget to share and subscribe so you can keep updated on all the episodes as and when they become available. And I'm your host, Caroline Brown.